Hi again, Mark here from talkingbass.net. This lesson I've got a quick exercise that should help develop your speed and accuracy while crossing the strings on the bass. Playing across the strings can bring about all kinds of problems when you're trying to develop your technique. One of the main pitfalls that you'll run into is the difference between working across the neck away from you as opposed to coming back down towards you. It's much more difficult to work up the strings away from you, and that's because of the way your fingers move into your hand when finger picking. When you come back down the strings, your picking fingers jump from string to string in the same direction that the finger's already moving. When you move across and away, then the picking fingers have got to jump contrary to this, and so literally have to do twice as much work as they pluck inward, jump over, pluck inward, jump over, pluck inward. That's why you hear a lot of bass fills and solos using descending lines. You'll get things like these pentatonic things that are really easy to play, but if you play them in reverse, they're a lot harder. So it pays to practice moving both ways across the neck, and this exercise that I use does just that. This exercise is pretty much a simple 4-note sequencing of a major scale, using all the notes in one position from the E string through to the G string. So if you're familiar with this major scale pattern and how to use scalar sequences, then it should just fall right under your fingers. If not, then don't worry, there's a PDF available for you to download that contains the sheet music, fingering and tab. Just check out the comments below the video. You can play this exercise in any key depending on the size of your hands or stretch, but we'll play it in good old C major for now. So the main pattern we'll be using is the C major pattern starting on the 8th fret of the E string and ending on the F at the 10th fret of the G string. We'll also be using the B below the C just for the turnaround. So that's the pattern. Your finger picking should start with the first finger and alternate with every note. So I'll just go through the exercise once so you can see how it looks and sounds. Okay, once you get back down to the C, you'll use the B to bring it back round. And then you're back at the beginning of the exercise, so you can just play it round and round and round till your brain dissolves. As I mentioned earlier, this exercise simply works across the neck playing the major scale in groups of 4. Each group of 4 starts on the next successive note of the scale. So we have, from the start, C, D, E, F, then D, E, F, G, then E, F, G, A, etc. Once we reach the F at the top of the pattern, the sequence changes a little bit. The groups change to a descent of 3 notes and then back to enclose the next target, which I know sounds a little bit weird and complicated, but it actually works out as the same pattern of 4 with a group of 3 at the beginning. As you descend, take note of the starting note of each group and make sure to accent the second note of each descending group. The last group should start on the 4th degree of the scale, or F, with the accent on the 3rd, or E, and then it'll add the 7th, or B, below the root to bring you back round. If all that sounds confusing, just use the music tab and fingering that I've provided and work your way through it slowly. It's actually a really simple pattern. So one more time through the whole exercise, and this time I'll play it twice through to show you how you can repeat it. 1, 2, 3. And back round. Okay. Once you've nailed the pattern, you want to start working on your technique. First of all, play the exercise slowly. Don't increase the speed until you've got it clean and comfortable. Then once you're comfortable with it, just increase the speed a little bit at a time. You want to pay attention to the tone and clarity of every note, and you don't want to be scuffing every single note just for the sake of trying to play it really fast. You want to build accuracy and muscle memory at a slow to medium tempo. Pay particular attention to the thumb of your picking hand and find a natural moment to jump to the next string as an anchor point. I find it's best to move as soon as I complete the last note on a particular string, so my thumb's always as close to the action as possible. This is a handy tip for loads of reasons. One, it's useful for muting because you can hold your thumb back across the strings and stop all that low rumbly noise. And two, I always find my fingers and hand work better and quicker when my fingers come to rest on the thumb rather than the string. The wider the arch in the hand, the less controlled and tidy everything seems to be. All of this is the reason for playing the exercise slow. The string transitions need to be firmly ingrained in your muscle memory before building speed. Your brain doesn't want to be trying to figure out all the little details while you're playing at high speed. This same principle applies to pretty much everything that you play and is the reason that we learn particular licks and runs and scales and arpeggios. With experience and practice, your brain develops this diverse range of muscle memories so that you don't really need to think when you've got to execute a certain musical idea. So once you've nailed the actual hand and finger movements of this exercise, you want to tidy up your fretting hand. I always have a battle with myself in trying to keep my hand neat and tidy with minimal movement, and I could never understand how some of the guitarists that I've known could play all this fast and flailing stuff without ever seeming to move the fingers. The hands would just seem to move around like this with no movement at all. But yet I'd be hearing all these hundreds of notes flying out. Well, the secret is quite simple. You just curl your fingers more. It's easy to fall into a general way of playing with your fingers flat, and when you do this, you need to lift your fingers more when moving between notes, and your little finger tends to get a mind of its own and flap up and down. But if you curl your fingers a little bit more and make a conscious decision to just keep your fingers closer to the fretboard, your playing will just become much tidier. And I've got to say that sometimes you really need to concentrate on doing this if you're already used to holding your fingers flat. My old bass teacher at college used to tell me off all the time for letting my technique slip, and he'd hold a book above my fretting hand. Well, I played scales just to stop my hand from moving. So now let's play the exercise again, and this time concentrate on curling the fingers and trying to use as little movement in the fretting hand as possible. This is a key principle in building speed and accuracy if that's your goal. So Okay, hope that exercise helps a little with your technique. Try it in different keys and with different scales once you get comfortable with it, and try not to overdo it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like this video, and make sure to check out my other video lessons, and also give my website a visit at www.talkingbass.net, where you can find a whole bunch of my weekly blog articles on bass related subjects. Okay, see you later.